Hi, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Good Morning Greyhounds. Today I am joined by Dr. Katie Greenan. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on, Maddie.
I'm so excited to host, but also to host with you here. I had you as a professor for the first time last semester and had an absolute blast. You are such a joy to work with, and again, so happy to have you here today.
Sorry, repeat that again. I'm such a joy to work with.
You're such a joy to work with, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. You're just amazing, and we have so much to talk about today because you have so many hands on so many different projects here at UIndy, and I'm just really excited to learn more about them. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Katie Greenan. So Dr. Katie Greenan's specialties lie in human communication, broadcast journalism, digital multimedia, research methods, and so much more. She earned her doctorate at Purdue University and master's in communication and broadcast journalism at Syracuse University. She was a press secretary for the U.S. House of Representatives and a news reported and videographer for well-known television stations such as ABC, NBC, and CBS. Dr. Katie Greenan is an assistant professor of communication here at UIndy. So Katie, first of all, I want to talk about you as a person. So what kind of led you to take the position here at UIndy?
Well, I graduated from Purdue in 2018, and I knew I wanted to be a professor, so I just started searching, and I was actually, one of my hobby jobs at the time was being a personal trainer, and one of my clients said, you know what, the University of Indianapolis is a great college, you should look for a job there. And I before that I had never heard of UIndy, and so I went online and looked, and there happened to be an assistant professor position open, and I applied.
So I want to go back. You were a personal trainer? Mm-hmm. How long were you a personal trainer?
Well, I was a group fitness instructor and personal trainer for several years, and so that's how I kind of I got myself through grad school, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was a lot of fun.
And are you still very active outside of school? Is that something that you still take joy in doing?
I'm still certified, actively certified, but I currently do not have any clients just because I'm too busy right now. I'm taking a break.
Would you like to pick me up for Miss Indiana this year and help me get ready?
I would.
You would?
Yes.
Sorry guys, making deals here today.
I would love to do that.
But back to your job here at UIndy. So what about this campus culture has kept you here for as long as you've been here? And how long have you been here?
I've been here since 2019 fall, so this is my 4th year, and I love the culture. I love the people I work with. I love the students that I teach. Just everything about it I really enjoy, and teaching is my passion, so I knew I always wanted to be a professor.
And being an associate professor, there's a lot of different course material, obviously, that you are good at teaching, a lot of things that you've studied. What are some of the courses that you've been involved in here over the years?
I've taught a lot of different courses, such as interviewing, and I really enjoy that because I like getting students in the habit of asking questions. I don't think people ask questions enough. I also have taught interpersonal communication, which I really enjoy. Electronic media is what we had together, right?
Yes, very much you.
And public speaking, I really enjoy public speaking because it's such a, presenting and writing is such a huge part of any job. So it's important to know how to do that.
Yeah, and public speaking is one of the gen ed requirements at UIndy, correct? Mm-hmm. So you get to work with a lot of different students. How does that public speaking course that you teach, how does that benefit students even if they're not in communication? Mm-hmm.
I think number one, it builds their confidence. So I tell them the first day of class, at the end of the semester, you will walk out of this classroom a little bit more confident than when you came in. And that's the biggest part of it. It enhances, their learning, their everything. And so I think the confidence is huge.
Absolutely. And you said that you have a real passion for teaching. Is there something specifically about the process of teaching or the education process as a whole that really makes you in love with the whole entire process of doing so?
Well, I'm very passionate about communication, right? The field of communication, because it affects and relates to all of us. every single person. And so I'm first of all in love with that, and then to be able to teach it and relate, transfer the knowledge to others and see others interested in it and perk up when they learn certain things about it really makes me happy.
Yeah, and one of the new courses that you've taken on, not this semester, but this academic year, was the senior project course. So tell me a little bit about how you were selected or how you decided to step up and take over that role.
I was asked if I wanted to do it, and immediately I said yes, because I knew I wanted to. I love working with the seniors, and the nice thing is that I get to have every senior in class before they graduate. So it's kind of a nice send-off, and I'm really enjoying it.
And so this senior project course is very unique to the University of Indianapolis, because a lot of universities, they have like a capstone or something, but I feel like this class is so personal, and it really showcases the growth of students. So kind of explain how the course works for those who aren't familiar with it.
Yep, so every senior has to take it in order to graduate with a communication degree here, and they have to get a C average or higher. And what they do is they take a project that they worked on in the past and improve it. They make revisions, they explain it to the communication faculty, right? They show their original project or artifact, and then they update it and show the jury or the faculty what they did. And it's a big presentation. Also, they do an online portfolio with all of their projects.
And what about taking over such, it's a heavy course. This is a course that you have to pass in to graduate with that degree. So what about teaching this course and being the head of it has been really challenging?
I think time, a lack of, there's not enough time, I don't feel, in the semester to really do everything that I would like to do with the senior project. And I always enjoy the students. So at the end of the semester, that's the hardest part. Seeing them graduate and having to say goodbye, but please visit. So on the flip side, what about teaching that course has been really fulfilling for you? What else besides, that love of teaching has it really fulfilled for you as a professor? Well, I've had most of the seniors in at least one class. So by the time they're seniors, I already know them, and I can see their growth, not only as a student, but as a human being, how they've blossomed or how they've increased their self-esteem or confidence, their skills. So just seeing that growth is very satisfying.
Yeah, and from what I understand, another role that you've recently stepped into is the role of being the head of the writing lab. Is that correct?
No, I'm not the head, but I am the coordinator of the designated tutor program. So the designated tutor program is within the writing lab. It's like a program within. So I work with the director.
And so how did you kind of come across this position? How did it present itself to you?
Well, I have my students, my writing classes involved in the program. So every semester I have my students paired with a designated tutor, and they're assisted with their writing projects. And so the former coordinator is on sabbatical this semester, and so she asked if I would take her place.
So what specifically are your responsibilities taking over her position?
I am communicating with more faculty, the faculty who teach writing classes. I am working with the tutors, so the student peer tutors, which is great. I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to know Dawn, who is the director of the writing lab. So it's really I'm putting myself out there, getting to know more people.
Absolutely. And I've heard a lot about the writing lab. I never took an English class at the university, but what benefits does the writing lab provide for students?
Well, it's kind of built into their tuition. So I feel like, similar to the gym, they should use it, right? It can only benefit them. So they can go there and meet with tutors, peer tutors for 30 minutes at a time about, anything involving the writing process. It could be spelling, grammar, punctuation. It could be organization. It could be coming up with ideas, brainstorming. So there's so many benefits they could get out of it.
And how many student tutors does the writing lab currently have? Do you know?
That is a good question. I am thinking between 10 and 20 this semester.
Yeah, and how do they take over that position? What is required to be a tutor at the writing lab?
Certain GPA, you had to have taken some writing courses, and usually your instructors, like I will nominate certain students who I think are really good writers to apply for the job.
Yeah, and so do they have writers who are specialists in different areas? Because obviously MLA is a different writing form, and APA, AP writing. So are there different types of writing forms that students can be tutored on?
It's mainly like technical writing versus creative writing versus research type writing, academic. So, and the tutors can work with any style, MLA, APA, etc.
Yeah, and what are the hours for the writing lab, and where can students find the writing lab?
The writing lab is located in the library, first floor, and I believe the hours are 8 to 4:30.
8 to 4:30.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, obviously you're Professor Greenan, but what are some of your hobbies outside of being Professor Greenan?
Well, I have a daughter who is a Chiweenie. She's 3 years old, and her name is Josephine. Josephina, Bina, Josie, Josiah, Jojabine. So I have a lot of nicknames for her. She's my angel. So I spend a lot of time with Josephina. In addition, I really am close to my family. So I have 2 siblings, and my parents live in Lafayette, so I visit them. And let's see, I practice yoga a lot. So I do that, and it's kind of nice to be a student again because I used to teach it. So I like just kind of sitting back and just being quiet and doing yoga.
And so are you a born Indiana native? Is this where all your family is?
No, my parents are from upstate New York, and I was born in Champaign, Illinois, but raised in Indiana.
Interesting. So was there a tie to the University of Illinois in your family? Because I know that's where that campus is located.
Yeah, that's very good, Maddie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, my dad was a professor there, professor of education. So that's why we moved from Illinois to West Lafayette, Purdue.
And then you obviously ended up becoming a Boilermaker. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But graduated from Purdue. Well, so Indiana has just kind of been that kind of home turf for you for most of your life.
Yeah,
then.
it's been home. It's
been home?
It's home.
And do you like being here? Is this a place where you could see staying for a lot longer, or are your kind of aspirations set elsewhere?
I'm open. I'm going to be here for, I would say, several more years, but I'm always open to new experiences and opportunities.
Awesome. Well, Katie, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. We have a lot more still to talk about, including your participation with the Study Abroad program. But more is coming up here on Good Morning Greyhounds. Hello, and welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds. Again, I am joined by Dr. Katie Greenan this morning. But before we get back to her, our own Logan Wong spoke to Gina Sadek from the Center for Global Engagement about study abroad opportunities.
Kind of in general, my position focuses on anything study abroad related or global partnerships related. We don't have a terribly centralized system, but we help manage and maintain and streamline the study abroad process for whether it's students or faculty and professors who want to do international research or come up with some kind of partnership and collaborative opportunity with a university that's outside of the United States. There are all kinds of study abroad opportunities. It could be for our students, there's really kind of an infinite possibility depending on the student's interest in terms of what they want to do while they're studying abroad, where they want to go. We could go almost anywhere that's safe. And it depends on their financial abilities, it depends on their major or other commitments. So they could do, we could go to, let's say, a spring term travel course, which is a group of UIndy students led by a UIndy faculty members, and they go for 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 weeks in May to almost anywhere. Belize, we've got a program going to Belize this year, to Cyprus, to South Korea, Italy, and that could be doing all kinds of different things. They could do service while they're there. They could be taking like a traditional course, and any other combination of things. They could also do a semester away. So our spring term international travel courses are quite unique to UIndy, because typically when we think of a traditional study abroad opportunity, and I think a lot of us can agree in terms of what first comes to mind is a commitment to a full semester abroad. We're going by ourselves to a university somewhere in the world, and we're doing a whole semester or even a year, taking a full course load, just being immersed as if you're a student here at UIndy, just at another university. Spring term international travel course is not like that, in the sense that you stay within your UIndy group. There's that kind of familiarity that you're taking with you. And it's unique in the sense that it's faculty, it's UIndy professors who have experience leading trips before. So you're going with this guide, with this mentor, with your teacher, and you're taking this course that is meeting the spring term requirement as, for your degree. You're not missing any other opportunities here, right? That's kind of another, maybe not risk, but we just need a lot of planning to be away for a semester just to make sure that all your academic stuff is still doing well here. This spring term is kind of a standalone period of time, so it doesn't really mess with a lot of things, and you get to do it again with that familiar group, and things are kind of pre-arranged, so you don't have to worry about having to figure everything out for you from scratch. You have this guide with you walking you through everything, and those kinds of experiences, spring term tends to be a very good option for those of us who maybe just truly don't have the time to take out of our year to be away for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or even 2 over the summer. Some of us have family commitments or work commitments or financial commitments that really require us to be here, and that's okay. And this is why it's really cool to get to have an opportunity to offer our students a week away or 2 weeks away or 3. And that also tends to keep costs down maybe a little bit, because we try to keep them. You'll see some opportunities this year that are just below that $3,000 mark for a couple weeks abroad, pretty much all inclusive. That's pretty awesome. And on top of that, there's a combination of grants and scholarship that we'll help the students apply for that might be able to help offset that cost. So really, spring term international travel courses are great because you're traveling with your own teachers, right, your own faculty members, and you could possibly end up with your own group of friends, and you're gone for just a little bit, dip your toes in the international travel study abroad experience, and you're really not missing out on coursework that's necessary for your graduation, so you're not messing with kind of the grand scheme of scheduling.
Again, that was Gina Sadek with the Center for Global Engagement on campus. And speaking of spring terms, Katie, I hear that you are in charge of a spring term trip this spring term. Where are you headed?
Yes, there are approximately 30 students and 3 leaders are going to Italy. Rome, we're starting in Rome and then going to Venice and then Florence. And I'm teaching communicating in a global context, so I'm really excited.
Oh my goodness. So what went into selecting Italy as the destination for spring term this year?
Well, it's very intercultural, and I have been there. I've been to all 3 locations, so I feel like I can navigate and I can teach and I can, lead. So I thought, let's start in Italy and then see where we go from there.
Yeah, and which of the destination cities that you mentioned are you most excited for?
Well, I think it's based on the activities or assignments because in Rome, for example, there are so many landmarks and it's so historical, so many places to see that I'm creating a scavenger hunt. So I'm really excited for the scavenger hunt.
What happens if a pair of students gets lost?
Well, that's the whole lesson, right? Interpersonal communication. They have to learn how to work together and not get lost. And if they do, find their way back.
Find their way back. Well, thank goodness I'm not going on that spring term, because once I'm
You would
lost,
love it.
I probably would. But once I got lost, I don't know if you'd ever find me. So obviously spring term, it's kind of a big task to take. You mentioned taking 30 students out of the country. So what kind of goes into organizing and planning a spring term trip?
There's a lot of detail involved. So first is coming up with an idea, right? Creating a course and coupling that with a country and cities, and then tailoring it to all students, not just communication students, but all students. And then you have the administrative stuff, the paperwork, getting approved, all of that, coordinating the who, what, where, when, why, how. So this semester it's all about booking planes, airfare and lodging and all of that.
And since you are a communication professor and you have some communication students on this trip, how many non-communication students are tagging along for the trip as well?
I counted approximately 10 comm students, which I'm really, really happy about. And then, so about a third of them are comm students.
Really? So there's more non-comm students than comm students. That's interesting. I almost expected it to be the other way around. So is this your first time leading a spring term or being part of a spring term, or have you done some previously?
I co-led a spring term last year, and we did the Camino de Santiago in Spain. So we walked 165 miles across northern Spain. And but my goal was always to lead my own study abroad trips. So that was my goal since undergrad and being an undergrad.
Well, that's exciting. And you said that you've mentioned being to Italy before. So I guess it's kind of exciting to get to go back, but in this capacity, you're leading a bunch of other students, which I can just tell you're just over the moon about. But you mentioned there's some coursework involved and obviously some education, because it wouldn't be a spring term without it. So what can your students kind of expect when it comes to the curriculum that'll be worked into the spring term trip?
Well, the book I'm using is one of my favorite books of all time. I first read it in 2002 when it was published, and I use it in my interpersonal communication courses, and I think the students will really be able to relate to it. It's called Refrigerator Writes Relationships. I did not author it, so I'm not plugging it, but it's very good and very relatable. So everything is kind of stemming from that book, and then I'm building an interpersonal, small group, electronic communication, all types of fields of communication into coursework.
Yeah, and incorporating things like electronic communication, interpersonal communication, these sound like some skills that you've probably picked up along the way. And one specific aspect that I really wanted to learn more about was your work as a press secretary for the U.S. House of Representatives. So talk a little bit about what that role entailed and those kind of responsibilities that came along with that job.
Yeah, so I never thought about going into politics, but at the end of my master's program at Syracuse, our capstone project was in Washington, D.C., so I was a television reporter for KTAB in Abilene, Texas. So I did its news every night, and I loved Washington so much, the energy and just being in the center of everything, that I thought, okay, I want to find a job here. So I became a press secretary for a congresswoman, and I was a one-man band sort of thing. So it was only me in the press shop, and I would do a lot of press releases. I would help her with a lot of events. I would go to press conferences, so anything involving the press. I dealt with reporters a lot, so I was on that side of it. Every day was different.
So obviously the atmosphere of Washington, D.C. is very different from any other atmosphere you've worked in. So kind of talk a little bit more about what it was like working in that kind of political arena versus what it's like, being a professor now, obviously very different.
Yeah, it's very different. So as a press secretary, I could not be as creative. I had to follow certain talking points, and I was representing the Congresswoman. So everything was according to her and how she voted and this and that. As a professor, I can be much more creative. And the nice thing is I can take the skills that I learned or did as a press secretary and bring it into the classroom.
Yeah, and of all of those skills that you're mentioning that you could bring with you, which of them really, really stand out and you think have kind of catapulted your career as a professor the most?
I think how to pitch stories, how to get things published. That's a big one because that's kind of the ultimate, right? You want to be published. So that is something that I've taken. And also how to get along with every type of person, right?
I imagine politicians are not the easiest people to always get along with.
They tend to be the center of their world. So yeah. Getting along with all sorts of people.
Yeah, and being a people person is really important for the business that we're in, of just being people, right? And obviously you talk about the goal being published. How many different works have you had published at this point?
Maddie, must I count them all? Just kidding. I don't know, but I enjoyed being a television reporter. I enjoyed writing for a magazine, being a blogger, writing for newspapers. So it's been fun just doing it all.
All right, well, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure anytime I get to sit down and talk with you. And thank you guys for joining us this morning on Good Morning Greyhounds.
Thank you.